Okay, thought I'd take advantage of the sanding procedure I'm working through for high performance night smoke. The sanding's being done to replicate a technique from John Coker, C-O-K-E-R. I may be mispronouncing that. Sorry if that's the case, John. He laminates carbon fiber to a birch base. The difference with what I'm doing is that I'm laminating carbon fiber to reinforce a fiberglass base or core, and because of that, it has to be sanded. I often refer to this procedure as a simple degloss, because the idea behind it is to essentially knock the shininess down on your fiberglass. This is G10 Garolite, so the glue will stick. A lot of argument over whether you need to grind into the fiberglass, but generally the experts that I read say this is a matter of activating the glass, essentially deglossing the surface, and you can actually see here where I've done one that's already been deglossed, and we'll try to catch some light here to see this. You should see the difference. This is the one that has already been sanded. This is the one that hasn't. And I don't know whether you'll be able to pick up the radial sanding marks or not, but you should see that, you know, as the light reflects here. Let me stand up, make sure I get the right angle. As the light reflects here, you'll see we're picking up plenty of reflection here, but well, why not on this piece? Well, this is because that's the piece that's been sanded. And if I remove it, see what you got. So we'll go through this real quick with the piece, and we'll see the difference. I think the angle is such that you'll be able to see the water beat up. In other words, not have any surface tension versus it having surface tension once we're done sanding. So we'll go ahead and we'll dip this in some water. You should be able to see I just got a little rectangular pail of water here, or rectangular bin of water. And you can see already I'm fully submersing this thing, but you'll notice that the water just beads up and runs right off of both sides of it, and of course that's the problem. There is no grease or anything making this happen. These were all thoroughly cleaned before they were cut, after they were cut, and then I even went back and used some 3M adhesive release to remove the cut pattern. So there, in no way, shape, or form is there any material on here that would normally make this bead, other than just the finish of the Garolite itself. So we want plenty of water here. We're going to take a little sanding wheel. I think these are Diablo sanding wheels. I know the pads are, or the replacement discs are. These are just 120 grit. No reason to get the Diablo other than they're what's available. But you'll notice this is not like 40 or 60 to grit. Normally I'd do this somewhere between 100 and 150. 120 is right in the middle. The fact that you have this so much surface area makes this go really quick. You're going to see that there's really no need to power this, to motorize this. I guess you could put this in a drill or something, but that's really too much. Excuse me. We'll have to apologize for my voice. I do have a cold here. Another thing to point out is that this does have some cushion to it, so it conforms a little bit better even as a flat surface. If you tried to use something that was hard, it wouldn't work real well. This is not a real problem because, and I don't have it handy, but the actual fins are a little bit smaller than this. They're going to be routed per template after the carbon fiber has been applied. So even if you were sort of to round off a little bit of edge here, that wouldn't be a problem. That's going to be trimmed off. So we'll start sanding this. Oop. And let me, if I get this dry in the first place, it'll sort of stick on its own. We'll make a few passes around. And we'll switch to our left hand just so we're not as tired. If you'll notice, as I sand this, I'm trying to keep this center pin not run off the edge. And the thinking here is that as long as I do that, I'll minimize my rounding, even if that was an issue, rounding of the edge. You may be able to start to see it's starting to get a little bit milky here. You can see it on the pad. You may be able to see that on the piece itself. So we're getting some fiberglass suspended excuse me, in the water there, which of course is what you want, particularly since I'm doing this without a mask. And that's just fine as long as you're wet sanding. That dust is not going anywhere. Not that it would get into my lungs anyway, with my nose being stuffed up. Also, I notice when you've broken that tension, it'll have a tendency to get a little foamy, and you'll see here's some of that fiberglass right there. So may not look like it, but we're taking off plenty of fiberglass. And I'm starting to see it now already. Okay, so see, fiberglass, we'll rinse our disc there. We'll put our piece in the water face up, and then now we'll compare sides. Now what you see here is that the water is sort of sticking more or less. It maintains some surface tension with the actual piece. Maybe a little bit of beading there, but when I wipe my thumb over it, well, that sort of goes away. So you know we've got some surface tension here. If I flip it over on the other side, it's quite obvious. There's no water on the other side. And if I move my hand around like that, you'll see that it moves water for a little while, but eventually it all goes to the lowest point. And you see right here, this is shrinking, it's running back down here. We'll do it again, even put it in the water again. And see it immediately, any angle on it, it immediately goes away. And you should be able to see, as I move this in the light, this side still reflects quite a bit of light. You flip it over here, you can actually see the reflection in the water, not in the piece. And there's still quite a bit of surface tension here. And if I wipe this off, we'll set this aside real quick. And I do have to wipe the water off because it's not going to run off on its own. And then I compare that to a piece that still hasn't been done yet. You should see that this piece is dull, this piece is still shiny. So even dry, you can see the difference in comparison. But you certainly can see it when it's wet. Here, I'll dip it again. So there's the surface tension. None at all here. There's some here. You see that? But even there, that is coming off a little bit. So we probably need to, did I get the, oh, maybe I didn't get the right one. No, I got the right one. So we'll probably sand this a little bit more. It is interesting. The experts talk about activating the piece that you're sanding. And it does look like that for a certain period of time, the surface tension on the piece is greater, and then over time, the surface tension goes away. Again, see, but then here, there's still some surface tension on this piece. Not quite as much of it as the initial sanding. But really, that's all there is to it. We'll do this a little more, maybe get some more video when I've got a good example. Thanks.